Hello, everyone. I just wanted to go over the answers to the Chapter 10, Section 2 assessment questions. You can use this video to help you study for the chapter test that will be next week, Thursday. So there will be a test on Chapter 10, Sections 1, 2, and 3. So these are the answers to the Chapter 10, Section 2 questions. First question says 1A, identify who were the councils. So identify means I need to go back into the text and just find that answer. So if I go back to the beginning of the text and I find where it says councils, who were the councils? The councils were the two most powerful magistrates of Rome, and their job was to run the city and to lead the army. They also were elected each year. So they were only in power for 1 year, so that no one could become too powerful. So again, who were the councils? They were the two most powerful magistrates, and their job was to run the city of Rome and to lead the army. We move on to question 1B. Explain, why did the Romans create a system of checks and balances? Well, we want to go to the part where it says checks and balances. So the answer is going to be in this section. So the reason why they developed a system of checks and balances is so that no one person or one group of people could become too powerful. So the reason why is right here. It says checks and balances keep any one part of the government from becoming stronger or more influential than the others. So I'm just going to read you the answer that the textbook gives, which is the exact same answer: to prevent any one person from gaining too much power. Question 1C, elaborate, which means that now I have to give a little bit more information than what is in the book. How do you think the Roman Senate gained power? So I'm going to go back up to here where it talks about the Senate. So this one does move around a little bit more. So here's the Roman Senate. And the question is, again, why do you think the Roman Senate gained power? So I have to think about the question and then give my own answer to it. I think they gained more power because more and more people became senators, since once you were a magistrate, then you moved into the Senate and you were there for life. So since you're there your whole life, that gives you more power over time. Secondly, I think they gained more power because they got to control the money. So they had more influence because they could control what the magistrates were allowed to do or not do because they controlled the money. So it says, as time passed, the Senate became more powerful. It gained influence over the magistrates and took control of the city's finances. By 200 BC, the Senate had great influence in Rome. So again, I think that happened because there were more and more magistrates that became senators and because they were there for so long. Other answers include they controlled the finances, which gave them more power over the magistrates who needed the money to do their jobs. All right, so question 2A, recall. So recall is like identify. It means I have to go back into the book to find the answer. What was Rome's first written law code called? So I'm going to go back to the section where it talks about written laws keep order. So this is where it's going to be. And right here it says, throughout history, Romans took the law of the 12 tables as a symbol of Roman law and the rights to the symbol. So the law was called the law of the 12 tables, and it was called that because of how it was presented. Again, they were not written on tops of tables that people would sit at and eat off of, and then as they're eating go, oh, look, law number 1 says, but they were in fact bronze tablets or pieces of metal that were carved. The laws were carved into the metal and they were posted on columns around the forum. So they were called the law of the 12 tables. So that is question 2A. Draw conclusions. That means I have to come up with my own idea based on what I read. Why did the Romans want their laws written down? Well, we're going to go back to the same section here. And the reason why they wanted them written down is the same reason why you want the laws written down. It says many people were unhappy with the situation because the only people that knew the laws were the patricians who had made them. So again, if you don't know what the law is, if you break the law, then you get punished, but you didn't know you weren't supposed to do it in the first place. So that's unfair. And secondly, you want to hold other citizens accountable. It's not fair to say, well, I didn't know that stealing was wrong because no one ever told me. So those would be the two main reasons. So specifically, it says they did not want to be punished for breaking laws they didn't even know existed. So as a result, they began to form They began to call for Rome's laws to be written down and made accessible, or everyone was able to get them. So same reasons why the Mesopotamians wanted the laws written down as well. 3A, describe what kinds of activities took place in the Roman Forum. So all I have to do is look at the picture or read about the Forum here. So the Forum was a popular place for meetings. People could shop, so there was buying and selling. They're talking and gossiping, talking about other things. It's also where all the political business took place. So politics took place there. People could go and have speeches or listen to speeches in the crowds. People could give speeches, listen to them. Voting would happen in the buildings on the sides of the forum. It is also where gladiator competitions were held and public ceremonies. So festivals would be held there, or ceremonies as well. So lots of different things happened in the forum. The forum is like the Greek agora, right? Analyzing, critical thinking, analyzing, review your notes about the Roman government, use the diagram to note information about the parts of the Roman government. So in other words, what is each part responsible for? So I'm going to go back up to the graphic organizer that was in the text, and that's going to help me here. So the magistrates, they were responsible for running the city of Rome. They were the leaders of the army. They also were the judges in court cases. Councils, there were two councils. They were the most important magistrates. All magistrates were elected for 1 year, and they had the power over all the other officials. So they were kind of like at the head of the government, so they would make most of the decisions, but they had to be approved through the Senate, the Assemblies, and the Tribune. The Senate's job was to advise the councils. The Senate originally started out, or wealthy patricians originally were advising the kings. And then when they got rid of their kings and they went to the republic, then those wealthy people became the Senate. And then their job was to tell the magistrates and give them advice and ideas. Once you were done being a magistrate, you became a senator. And so you were there for life. And the Senate's main job was to control the finances, or their primary job. Main job was to control the money of the city. The assemblies and tribunes were two different groups, and their job was to represent people. So the tribunes represented the common people. They were able to reject laws or veto laws. They could declare wars. The assembly's main job was to elect the magistrates. So Roman citizens could take part in the assemblies. So they were kind of like the same assembly idea of ancient Greece. So Roman citizens were part of the assembly. They were also able to elect tribunes. Tribunes had to be plebeians. They served for 1 year, and their main job as a tribune was being able to veto what the councils, the magistrates, or the Senate wanted to do in order to make sure that the common person was being represented. So they kind of combined the two ideas together in here. But the assemblies, their main job was to elect the Senate, and I'm sorry, their main job was to elect the magistrates. The tribune's main job was to make sure that the common person was being represented, and they had the ability to veto both the magistrates and the senators, and also the other assembly members. So hopefully that helps you a little bit and gives you the correct answers for the chapter 10, section 2 questions. If you have any concerns or comments or questions, or you need help with something, please contact me. And I hope this helps you review for the unit test. Thanks. Have a wonderful afternoon.